Throughout history, humanity's curiosity about the future has driven people to seek insights through fortune tellers and religious sources. From ancient oracles like Delphi to prophetic texts in Egypt and Mesopotamia. These practices, ranging from interpreting dreams to reading omens like bird flights or sacred chickens, satisfied a deep need to anticipate events, influencing decisions in war, governance, and personal life. This timeless quest reflects a blend of hope, fear, and the desire to control destiny across diverse cultures.
Today, that curiosity persists, but modern tools have shifted from mysticism to data-driven forecasts. This video presents a forecast for 2030, crafted by GROK AI developed by XAI, which analyzes past and current trends in social, technological, geological, astronomical, and political domains. Unlike ancient prophecies, this approach uses algorithms and statistical calculations, akin to a weather forecast, offering probabilistic scenarios rather than definitive predictions.
By grounding projections in evidence from authoritative sources like the IPCC and Global Trends 2030, this forecast outlines potential futures: population growth to 8.5 billion, AI-driven economic shifts, climate challenges, lunar bases, and multipolar geopolitics, while acknowledging uncertainties. It invites readers to explore these scenarios, bridging humanity's age-old fascination with the future to a modern, analytical perspective.
Humanity's trajectory over the next 5 years, leading into 2030, appears poised for significant transformation across multiple domains, shaped by ongoing trends in technology, society, environment, space exploration, and politics. Research suggests that technological advancements, particularly in AI and biotechnology, will accelerate, potentially adding trillions to the global economy while raising ethical concerns and risks of job displacement. It seems likely that climate change will intensify, with global temperatures approaching or exceeding critical thresholds, leading to more extreme weather events, though mitigation efforts could temper some effects. Evidence leans toward expanded space activities, including lunar bases and increased satellite deployments, fostering innovation but highlighting sustainability challenges. Politically, a shift toward multipolarity, especially in U.S.-China relations, could foster cooperation or heighten tensions with diverse viewpoints, emphasizing the roles of alliances and regional actors. Socially, population growth and urbanization may exacerbate inequalities, yet they also present opportunities for equity through targeted policies, acknowledging the empathy needed for affected communities.
Key transformations ahead. By 2030, the world could see profound shifts driven by interconnected forces. Technological progress might redefine work and health, with AI contributing up to $15.7 trillion to global GDP. Though skeptics point to limitations in energy and ethics. Environmental pressures, including a potential 1.3 degrees Celsius rise in temperatures, underscore the urgency of emission reductions, balancing warnings of irreversible changes with hopes for adaptive strategies. Space endeavors may establish permanent human presence on the moon, amid debates on debris and militarization. Political landscapes could evolve into varied multipolar scenarios, from stable U.S.-led alliances to fragmented global orders. Social dynamics, with a population nearing 8.5 billion, highlight aging societies and youth bulges, calling for inclusive approaches to health and economic disparities.
Opportunities and risks. These forecasts reveal a dual-edged future. Innovation in AI and space could enhance human capabilities and connectivity, but without careful management, they risk widening divides. Climate impacts, such as sea level rise and ecosystem disruptions, demand global collaboration, with evidence suggesting that limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius could avert millions of additional exposures to extremes. Politically, competitive coexistence might prevail, yet spoilers like regional conflicts could disrupt stability. Socially, while urbanization drives productivity, it also amplifies poverty in underserved areas, urging empathetic policies to harness demographic dividends. Hedging uncertainties. Predictions inherently carry uncertainty, influenced by variables like policy decisions and breakthroughs. For instance, AI's path to superintelligence is debated, with some experts optimistic and others cautious about timelines. Climate models vary, but consensus leans toward heightened risks without swift action. Space and political outlooks depend on international cooperation, with counterarguments stressing potential for positive surprises through diplomacy. Humanity's path toward 2030, informed by a synthesis of historical patterns and contemporary data from social, technological, geological, astronomical, and political spheres, reveals a landscape of profound evolution interspersed with both promise and peril. Drawing from authoritative analyses such as the U.S. National Intelligence Council's Global Trends 2030 report, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, assessments, and forward-looking insights from organizations like the World Economic Forum and KPMG, this overview integrates megatrends, pivotal disruptions, and scenario-based projections. While strides in technology and space exploration offer avenues for elevated human prosperity, enduring hurdles in environmental sustainability, geopolitical tensions, and social equity necessitate unified global initiatives to steer toward a resilient outcome.
In the realm of social dynamics, the dominant forces by 2030 revolve around demographic expansions, urban migrations, and pursuits of fairness. Projections place the global population at approximately 8.5 billion, within a 95% prediction interval of 8.4 to 8.6 billion, marking an increase from 7.3 billion in 2015. This growth manifests unevenly across regions. Africa is anticipated to surge by 42% to 1.68 billion inhabitants, propelled by elevated fertility rates, whereas Europe's populace dips marginally to 734 million. Asia, encompassing nearly 60% of the world's people, is expected to expand by 12% to 4.9 billion. These shifts trace back to long-standing trends of declining birth rates in affluent areas and sustained higher rates in sub-Saharan Africa and segments of South Asia, bolstered by advancements in child health and educational access. Urbanization is set to intensify, with 60% of the global population, or 4.9 billion individuals, residing in cities, incorporating an additional 1.1 billion urban residents. This momentum is most pronounced in Africa and Asia, where urban populations are forecasted to grow by 63% and 30%, respectively. Although urbanization can enhance economic output and service availability, it simultaneously aggravates disparities. In 2014, 880 million people inhabited slums, and by 2030, nations like Ethiopia, where the urban populace doubles to 37 million with 74% in slums, confront amplified poverty hazards if infrastructure development falters. Opposing perspectives underscore advantages, such as clustered economic endeavors alleviating poverty, yet hasty expansion in low-income zones could broaden divides absent strategic interventions.
The aging of populations introduces challenges to health and equity. The cohort aged 60 and above is projected to climb 56% to 1.4 billion, with developing areas like Asia experiencing 66% growth and Latin America 71%. This demographic pivot redirects attention to non-communicable diseases, overburdening ill-equipped health infrastructures. Meanwhile, youth surges in Africa, with a 44% rise in the 15 to 24 age bracket, present a demographic dividend for economic advancement if employment and schooling are secured, though elevated joblessness could incite societal unrest, as observed in locales like Pakistan and Afghanistan. Initiatives under frameworks like Healthy People 2030 stress social factors such as education and financial security to mitigate inequalities, but progress toward universal health coverage lags, with income-based gaps potentially resulting in 1.8 million annual child fatalities if ignored. Balanced assessments recognize advancements in reproductive health, with women of reproductive age increasing 9% worldwide and 47% in Africa, though adolescent birth rates and high fertility nations impede fairness.
The worldwide middle class is expected to swell by roughly 1 billion, stimulating demand for education and information technology goods, but this could ignite intergenerational frictions in scenarios akin to genie out of the bottle, where inequalities fracture societies. Migration, spurred by age imbalances and prospects, bolsters remittances yet induces talent outflows from origin regions. In sum, social projections intimate longer lifespans and cultural integrations, but compassion for marginalized groups remains essential to curb inequities. Shifting to technological evolution, the horizon for 2030 accentuates a pivot toward AI supremacy, biotechnological leaps, and pervasive connectivity. AI might attain superintelligence, unlocking medical and exploratory feats with visions like Sam Altman's of artificial general intelligence by 2030 and artificial superintelligence enabling space settlement by 2035. Nonetheless, critics such as Jan LeCun contend that large language models encounter reasoning barriers and escalating energy needs for training, potentially multiplying tenfold, might postpone schedules. The economic ramifications are immense. AI could infuse $13 to $15.7 trillion into global gross domestic product, but automation threatens employment, fostering a stratified society.
Further innovations encompass CRISPR applications for genetically modified pets and organ cultivation, light field displays supplanting traditional screens, and biofactoring yielding materials like graphene constructs. Autonomous vehicles embodying autonomy, connectivity, electrification, and sharing, spatial computing, and AI intercommunications will overhaul engagements with cloud infrastructures and ethical AI uptake hastening. Contrasting views caution against overstatement, as in OpenAI's valuation fueled enthusiasm, and existential dangers like workforce obsolescence or militarization, with 42% of Americans apprehensive about AI's threats to civilization. The Global Trends 2030 framework spotlights information technologies' big data phase, where mobile penetration surpasses electricity in emerging markets, promoting partnerships but facilitating cyber perils. Health tech prolongs vitality, yet without equitable distribution, divides may widen. Geological and environmental pressures, intertwined with climatic data, foresee temperatures nearing 1.3 degrees Celsius by 2030, with a 70% likelihood of 5-year averages surpassing 1.5 degrees Celsius between 2025 and 2029. Under prevailing trajectories, emissions could reach 52 to 58 gigatons of CO2 equivalent yearly, breaching 1.5 degrees Celsius caps, mandating 45% reductions from 2010 benchmarks for alleviation. Consequences include amplified extremes, heat waves impacting 420 million fewer people at 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to 2 degrees Celsius, permafrost melt spanning 1.5 to 2.5 million square kilometers, and sea level elevation exposing 10.4 million fewer to hazards that subdued warming. Oceanic acidification and coral degradation, 70 to 90% at 1.5 degrees Celsius, jeopardize biospheres, while soil degradation quadruples from intensified precipitation.
Alternative stances emphasize adaptability. Certain simulations anticipate controllable alterations via innovations like precision farming. Resource bottlenecks, such as Asia's 90% reliance on imported oil, exacerbate susceptibilities amid urban sprawl. Health repercussions include 250,000 extra yearly deaths from 2030 attributable to undernutrition and thermal stress. Equilibrated data inclines toward immediate measures to evade severe perils at 2 degrees Celsius. For instance, at 1.5 degrees Celsius warming, species range contractions affect 6% of insects, 8% of plants, and 4% of vertebrates, escalating to 18%, 16%, and 8% respectively at 2 degrees Celsius. Sea levels might ascend 0.26 to 0.77 meters by 2100, with an additional 0.1 meter at higher or an additional 0.1 meter at higher Celsius.
Astronomical horizons concentrate on spatial expansion and viability. Humans may reestablish lunar footholds with enduring outposts by 2030, Martian touchdowns in the mid-2030s, and 58,000 satellites bolstering linkages. Forecasters envision collaborative, commercialized space realms with tourism, profound probes, and data exploitation flourishing. Orbital launches could escalate to 195 to 338 per year by fiscal 2028, fueled by vast constellations. Enhancements in space weather, forecasting safeguard resources, but orbital clutter and armament concerns mount. Dissenting opinions note schedule slippages, such as the International Space Station's deorbiting and 2030 constraining operations. Ramifications include cost-effective broadband for remote zones, though disputed arenas might provoke disputes. The political landscape envisions multipolar configurations, with US-China interplay central. Possibilities span from US-dominated setups featuring stable coalitions and Russia as a disruptor to equilibrated multipolarities with parity in sway and technological upheavals, China preeminent models straining partnerships and elevating conflict probabilities, and fragmented realms where diminished influences from both powers foster escalations and extremist descents, all molded by pandemic recoveries. China may eclipse the US economically, yet coalitions temper dominance. Disputes like Ukraine's might conclude with land yields, while agitators such as Russia and Iran intensify volatility. Nuanced forecasts advocate joint efforts on universals like AI oversight. In essence, as 2030 approaches, humanity navigates a balance of ingenuity and hazards, demanding versatile frameworks for enduring progress.